Thank you again, Mohammed. In my opening statement, I laid out a basic case for the doctrine of the Trinity, and I claimed that the Islamic concept of God is more confusing than what we're normally told. I pointed out that Allah prays, and he said, well, there's a difference in the meaning of the verb here. Well, the Quran says repeatedly that Allah prays, and guess what? He prays in the hadiths as well. And what's interesting is there are even Muslim translators who are acknowledging this and translating these passages as Allah prays. So Aisha Bewley, I've got a ton of Islamic books translated by her, respected around the world. From Riyadh as-Salihin, the Messenger of Allah said, Allah and His angels and the people of the heavens and the earth, even the ants in their rocks and the fish, pray for blessings on those who teach people good. So Allah prays. Who's He praying to? Al-Ahadith al-Qudsiyah, translated again by a Muslim translator. Hadith number 216, the Israelites said to Musa, does your Lord pray? Musa said, fear Allah, O sons of Israel. Allah said, O Musa, what did your people say? Musa said, O my Lord, you already know. They said, does your Lord pray? Allah said, tell them, my prayer for my servants is that my mercy should precede my anger. If it were not so, I would have destroyed them. Allah prays that His mercy will triumph over His wrath. Now, if Allah is praying, He's praying for self-control here, apparently, right? He wants to punish them, but He prays for self-control. This is not me. These are your hadiths and your translators translating these passages as Allah praying. Why? Because that's what salah means. If I'm wrong, give me the linguistic basis for saying otherwise. Second, I said that Allah has various parts, but only His face is imperishable, which means that different parts of Allah have different attributes. That's just what it says. It says, everything will perish except His face. So if you're interpreting the parts as literal parts, you've just got a problem here, right? It gives the qualification. It's saying everything will perish. And I understand it can say, everything this or everything that. It's saying that everything perishes except His face. It's drawing the only exception there, which would mean that certain parts are parts with different attributes. Unless Allah is just not clear in His Quran, which He claims to be clear over and over again. Third, I said that the Quran is an eternal person. He's Allah's eternal word, but He also takes the form of a pale man. Now, it's kind of hard to hear because over there, but I think Mohammed replied that it's your own recitation that appears to you. Now, that's interesting enough. If your own recitation of the Quran is appearing as a pale man, but I don't think that's what it means because of the next point, which is that individual chapters of the Quran appear as flocks of birds to intercede for you. So if individual chapters of the Quran are appearing and pleading for you, then why wouldn't the entire Quran as a whole also be appearing to you? So it seems that it's not just talking about your own good recitation or something like that, but the book itself. He says, I am the Quran. Now, by the way, this is very interesting, and I think it might be a source of problem here. Mohammed says, well, who refers to these Quran chapters as persons? And I think there's a little difficulty here. This might be why he's having trouble understanding the doctrine of the Trinity, if he's misunderstanding this word person here and how it's applied. If a flock of birds can talk and has knowledge, and this flock of birds knows what you've been doing, they know that you've been reciting the Quran, they intercede for you, they plead to Allah on your behalf, well, those are qualities of what we call a person in philosophy, right? It's communicating like that, it has certain kinds of knowledge, it appeals to people in a certain way. This is what we mean by the term person. And by the way, because we're talking about origins of Islamic practices. If you go to the early Islamic history, there were goddesses. There were many people in Arabia who believed in a kind of hierarchy, right, where they believed in Allah, and they believed that Allah was the main deity, but they believed in lower deities, and ththese were intercessors. Now, Alat, Alus, and Manat were three goddesses, and they were called the exalted cranes. They were the birds that would carry your prayers to Allah, or they would fly up to Allah and intercede for you. Now, why is this interesting? Well, the goddesses are described in terms of birds who go and intercede for you. But Muhammad, after introducing Tawheed, says that it's actually chapters of the Quran that do that for you now. They appear as flocks of birds to go up to Allah and intercede for you. Now, if I asked any Muslim in here, hey, if someone believes that there's God and then there are these other beings who intercede and fly up to him and intercede for you and plead for you, is that polytheism or monotheism? Every Muslim would say that's polytheism. Okay, well, if there are these flocks of birds around and they are the eternal speech of Allah and they fly up and intercede for you and they plead on your behalf, what is that? It's pure monotheism. That is very interesting. He says no one refers to the Quran as a person or chapters of the Quran as a person. Again, if you understand how we use the term, that should end the confusion. As for the Quran having a mother, al-Kitab. Now, he pointed out that, well, if you're saying it's not literally biological, then you must be saying it's merely metaphorical. And no, not in the Jewish or Christian scriptures. Son of is used in a variety of ways, and so the appropriate response to Christian theology would be explain to us what Jesus' sonship means, and that would be explained in terms of the doctrine of the Trinity. But no Christian has ever meant that Jesus is the biological son of the Father. So if Allah is telling Muslims in the Quran, and I bring this up because I hear this from Muslims almost every day, well, how can you believe that God had sex with Mary? Well, I've never heard of a Christian believing that. Where are you getting that idea from? Getting it from the Quran, from Allah. So the point here is, if Allah knows what the Christian doctrine is, why doesn't Allah say what the Christian doctrine is and then explain why it's wrong? He just never does. Allah tries to refute the Trinity, doesn't know what the doctrine of the Trinity is. He thinks it's Allah, Jesus, and Mary, who are three separate beings who just work together. That's not the doctrine of the Trinity. What's he responding to? Likewise, with the sonship of Jesus, he gets it all wrong. So you've got a problem here. Either your God doesn't know what we believe, in which case he lacks knowledge, or he does know what we believe and he's deliberately making fun of it or misrepresenting it. If he's deliberately misrepresenting it, then that would be an ethical problem. 6, I said that Allah's spirit is an eternal person who takes the form of a man to carry out tasks. Again, having trouble hearing down there. If there was a response to that, please remind me. 7th, I said that Islam deifies Muhammad. Said, well, you know, Muhammad spitting and stuff what's that got to do with him being God? That's not the point. The point was, Muhammad's just a man, Muhammad's just a man, Muhammad's just a man. And then you see how his followers acted towards him, and it's clear he was much more than a man to him. When a normal human being is walking down the street and spits, you don't say, ooh, I have to rub this all over my body. Muhammad's companions did. If a hair falls off a normal human being's head, you don't say, ooh, I need to grab this. I need to save this. If someone is bleeding, a normal human being is bleeding, you don't say, hey, let me get that running blood and drink it. This was acceptable behavior from Muhammad and his followers. And how, if you saw anyone doing this, if I said, hey, there's this place somewhere in South America or something, and they've got this guy down there, and whenever he spits, they rub it on their faces. Whenever he washes himself, they collect the water so they can rub it on themselves. Whenever he bleeds, he gets cut, they drink it. You say, look at this idolatry, look at this paganism. But that's exactly how Muhammad expected his followers to act. And for some reason, whenever it's in Islam, it's still just pure monotheism. I said that Islam accidentally deifies Jesus, calls Jesus Allah's word and a spirit from Allah. Now keep in mind, those are the two eternal, co-creating, co-eternal beings with Allah, His word and His spirit. Now this is interesting. Mohammed hijab said that the Quran calls Jesus the word because Allah said be and He was. So Allah said be and He was, and this makes Him Allah's word. Now that's very interesting because according to chapter 16 verse 40 of the Quran, that's how Allah creates everything. That's how Allah creates me. So Allah created me by saying be, and according to Mohammed hijab, that's how you can identify someone as the word of Allah. What's that make me? I am the word of Allah, according to Mohammed hijab. So if you reject anything I say,
1 minute left.
If you reject anything I say for the rest of the evening, you're guilty of rebelling against Allah's word. As far as Islam drawing its worship from its basic practices from the pagans of Mecca, there's really no dispute. You can read in the Muslim sources that the pagans are walking these circles and kissing the black stone and so on. You can also read that they believed in these 7 planetary deities that are circling the earth. So you can read all about their worship. What you have to believe if you want to reconcile this with Islam is you have to say Abraham set that up, walking the 7 circles, and then the pagans misinterpreted it at some point, and they started walking 7 circles around the Kaaba for a completely different reason. So you'd have to believe that. And then as far as the black stone, well, it was the black stone, and then it became part of their pagan worship and then got brought back. But keep in mind, this is
5 seconds.
A rock that is going to appear with eyes and a mouth, and you kiss it.
Thank you very much, Dr. David Wood. Now we're going to enter into our second phase of rebuttals, which each speaker will have 8 minutes each. You can go ahead, Mr. Mohammed hijab.
He mentioned again this issue of Salla Ali, Allah. And I've told you the difference. I don't know why I kept repeating it. He says person, I'm going to try and do this in 3 minutes, yeah? He says person, this shows you that the surah are, he thinks this means that the chapters of the Quran are persons. I've always wanted to do this, yeah? To take a word from Dwayne, the Rock Johnson. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you think. I mean, flock of birds and the man who comes, the pale man. Yes, this is in good deeds. And this proves my point, once again, that the qira'ah of the Quran is what is represented, the thawab. You get the rewards for doing the good. And it comes. That's what the hadith is talking about. The man comes in a good form. This is the hadith in Bukhari. He says, Allat wal-Uzza wal-Manat al-Thalith al-Ukhra come as birds. Intercession means polytheism. Well, من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه, chapter 2, verse 255 of the Quran. Who will intercede with God except with His permission? It's one part of a verse which refutes all of your claims about intercession, in fact. He says, means mother. It doesn't only mean mother. Don't tell me about Arabic language. You ask me about Arabic language in this forum. You ask me, you don't tell me. You ask, Muhammad, what does the word mean? You don't tell me means this. No, I tell you, it means mother, yes. It doesn't only mean mother. We say Ummahat al-Kutub, the main books. It means something foundational. Al-Qura, the Quran says, the main cities. Come on, man. Don't waste my time with this. He says, he actually asked me for something linguistic. He said, what's the linguistic basis that the word salah, what does it come from? Etymologically, the word salah comes from the word sila. Sila means connection. So it can be any connection. It doesn't necessarily always have to be prayer. And the word actually salah means dua. Yes, this is the root word, but it comes from the etymological root word sila, which means connection. It could mean any connection. Silatul Rahim, for example, connecting with your family members. You don't know these things. He says the Quran gets the Trinity wrong, and he's talking about chapter 5, verse 116 of the Quran, where it talks about, did you tell your mother that you can take 2 of us as lords beside God? It's not talking about the Trinity in this verse. Where does it say this is the Trinity and then describe it? The verses that describe the Trinity, for example, chapter 4, verse 171 of the Quran, other places of the Quran, like chapter 5 where the brother was reading, it never tells you what the Trinity is, which is why, for example, many scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah in his Jawab al-Sahih, many scholars actually did say that the Trinity was the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. But some scholars differed with them in exegesis. It doesn't matter. The word 3 in Arabic, thalatha, means all of the kinds of trinities that all of the Christians have ever believed in all of history. So the word thalatha in Arabic is all comprehensive. It doesn't say that the word Trinity is Mary. It doesn't say that in the Quran. You have lied against the Quran. And then he says here, the ruh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this, you have to understand basic rules of grammar of Arabic. Idafa. Naqat Allah. Naqat Allah means the camel of Allah. Is that another person? I will help you. I will help you. Idafa means, actually I'm not going to go into it, to be honest with you. Idafa is, go to a basic Arabic textbook. What is mudaf? Mudaf ilayh is the first thing the Arab students learn. Let's not waste my time with this, please. You've come here, 20 years of research, and this is what you present. Don't waste my time. It says here, Islam accidentally deifies Jesus because he is kalimatullah. Why does the Quran call him the kalima? Because it's stressing the fact that Allah said be and he was. To make it an emphasis, a point of emphasis for Christians who believe otherwise. And then the pagan sources, he didn't give any. Now, realize, ladies and gentlemen, this man put Christianity under the bus. He threw Christianity under the bus today. I asked him 4 questions. None of those questions were answered. None of those questions were answered. I asked
4
him,
minutes left.
where is the Trinity in 300 years? If it is a basic, natural inference of the Old Testament, how could you have 4,000 years of Hebrew history? No one has inferred it. If it's a natural reading of the New Testament, how comes you have 300 years? 300 years. And no church father believed in Nicene Trinitarianism the way that you believe today. Why are you back projecting, anachronistically superimposing this idea that was advanced and crystallized by the Cappadocian fathers in 381 and putting it and forcing it, you're the one forcing it on the New Testament. More egregiously, you're forcing it in the Old Testament. You have done a shameful service today for the Christians. You have not defended Christianity today. You should have brought James White with you or someone like that. Seriously, you should have brought someone who could have helped you. You were saying me and Adnan and Ali versus you. Man, you should have brought someone with you. Seriously. What's going on here? 20 years of attacking Islam. 20 years of attacking Islam. 99% of your content is anti-Islam. And all of those things you brought today were dismissed in 4 minutes. You couldn't handle the questioning. I gave you 4. I gave you 4 questions. I did the service, sir, of answering all of your questions. You didn't even answer one of mine. How dare you? How dare you? What is this? Seriously. And the reason why, once again, I apologize to all the other Christians here. Why? This man has made mockumentaries against Islam. He's attacked Muslims, aggravated Muslims. We know his story. He's not any regular Christian, ladies and gentlemen. The Quran says, "Laysu sawa'a." The Christians are not all the same. If it was James White, I would have shown him the utmost respect. If it was William Lane Craig, I would have shown him the utmost respect. If it was any of those guys, I would have showed them the utmost respect. But this man, no. Read the Bible. I will teach you the Bible today.
Welcome back, friends. I hope you enjoyed the video till the last minute. This person, David, he has a very good technique of juggling of words. You know, so many times a person is, we can say, it's more mature when he uses this formula, the juggling of words. You know, I remember one time I was watching the video of Dr. Zakir Naik where he was talking about the universal brotherhood. So one person from the audience, they asked the question that Dr. Zakir Naik, universal brotherhood is nothing but you are just using the juggling of words, and universal brotherhood, you are preaching Islam in the universal brotherhood. But Dr. Zakir Naik, you know, he is a very wise man, and he replied him very beautiful answer that when you ask me that which religion is beautiful, as I am also the student of this Islamic studies, so I will definitely provide you a best platform for you. For example, if you ask me that which cloth brand is very very beautiful or cheap one, so I will tell you the best of out of all the things, I will be tell you the best of one. So in this way, in this video, in this debate, I have watched that this David, he was using the juggling of words. He will ask so many questions that talking about the ruh that Almighty Allah clearly mentioned in the Holy Quran. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. And also he talked about that إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ. And also he asked about the Quran, Qura. I think the Almighty Allah talked about the Makkah, the beautiful place. So that is called the Holy Quran. Talk about the Qura, because it was the first village when at the Almighty Allah house it was prepared on it, and most of the people, they come to a pilgrimage and they also to do Umrah. And now 1400 years ago, since the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam made the Kaaba, the Baytullah, and then since that time up to till now, and inshallah till the doomsday, it will be remain forever. And this pilgrimage and this Umrah and this kind of thing, it will be happening to this beautiful Makkah and to beautiful Kaaba. So this David, he asked a different kind of question by different kind of juggling of words, and that's why he want to confuse the Muhammad hijab. But we have watched that how a beautiful and a nice play from the Muhammad hijab. You know, whenever Muhammad hijab trying to giving him answer, you know, there is a verse of the Holy Quran directly it remind me in my mind that udhu ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'izatil hasana. Actually he talk about the ruh. To ruh, Almighty Allah clearly mentioned in the Holy Quran, qul ruhu min amri rabbi, ruh from Almighty Allah. Like, you know, this is our body, and we doesn't know that when the ruh will be come out from this body, because every body has starting date and ending date. So in which time it will be end, we doesn't know, but Almighty Allah remember it. Almighty Allah written each and everything. That's why we use the words in our knowledge and also in our iman, that wal qadri khairihi wa sharrihi wa min Allah ta'ala wal basi ba'd al maut. So my dear brother and sister, this video directly clarify that Bible, it had two parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And believe me, if you match the Bible from different part of the words, you will be feel that every Bible will differentiate from each other. If you make a lot of mistakes in the Bible, then no one will be able to put out the mistakes. But if the Holy Quran, if you take Holy Quran from the word first side and you take the Holy Quran from the word largest, the end side, you will be see that both are equal. There will be no mistakes. And if you made mistake in the Holy Quran, automatically in a few minutes and a few seconds, the mistake will be taken out by the Holy Quran, because the most readable book on the surface of earth is Al-Quran, because there are so many countries, I think 200 and about 200 countries in this universe. Each and every country, the Holy Quran will be, subhanallah, the Holy Quran is readable book in every time. Recitation of the Holy Quran all around the world, it's happening 24/7. So my dear brother and sister, from this video we caught that how a debate has been between a Christian and a Muslim, and how they does not cross the limits, because if they cross the limits and beyond the limits, so there will be nothing but it will be a confusing and etching. Now watch the Dr. Zakir here in this video from the Muhammad hijab. I like this point, that when he said that if you talk about the Old Testament and the New Testament and you talk about the Trinity, so 3000 years ago, where was Trinity before? This is the question, and I have answered you all of question, and you did not give me the answer of a single question. That's why I'm talking you that this person David, the Christian Avenger, he was using the juggling of words and also playing with the mind of the people. So in my point of view, if you are watching me, so my dear brother and sister, Islam is the only unit, and Islam is the only hope for you, which can support you through the entire life, and from which you will be good to know that the Holy Quran is the final and the original revelation from Almighty Allah. No book will become after the Holy Quran to entertain you. So I hope you enjoy the video. If you like the video, subscribe the channel and share it with your friends.